Hello, hello, this is Ying, and in this video I'll show you the process of how I drew this wheel with a head, this little guy here. I'm using the ever so trusty Microsoft PowerPoint. Ooh, okay, let's jump right into it. First of all, let me go through the overview of the general steps which I go through. First, I start off with the reference, and then I choose the color scheme or a palette to work with, and then I draw shapes and make adjustments to the shapes while trying to stay organized. And I use the shapes to build the drawing which I have in mind. So these two steps I'll go through again and again and again until I have the end result which I'm satisfied with, and I'm ready to save it as an image file. Okay, so the first step for me at least, is an optional step for some people, but for me, I am not that good at drawing, so I need a reference to work with. In this case, my reference is this little guy here, which I got from Daiso. It's always on my desk, and one day I thought that it would look cute with a hat. So I drew this on a post-it note, and I have my reference ready. So the next step is to transfer this reference into the PowerPoint. On PowerPoint, personally, I don't start off drawing right away. I would start with choosing my color scheme or a palette. Reason is because it helps sets the tone of the drawing as well as it speeds up the process later on. So when I have the different elements, right, I don't have to spend too much time choosing the colors because I already have a set of colors which I'm happy with. So that is the reason why I start off with palette on PowerPoint. Um, You can make use of the different sets of template palette which is already on PowerPoint. You go to view, slide masters, and then you can have the drop down option to choose from. I was drawn to the blue color of paper, that's why that is my working palette from PowerPoint. Of course, you can choose the customize color from that drop down box just now, and then you can customize what's already there, or you can start building a palette from scratch on your own, but I'm not that good at colors, so I stick to the template palette that's already there. Okay, well, so once I've got my palette, I then proceed to set the background color. Just right click anywhere and any empty space on the slide, and then I can choose to format background, and then I choose the color to work with from the drop down box. So I've already changed the color scheme. This is not your standard Microsoft PowerPoint palette because we've already customized that, so the process is relatively fast. I don't have to spend time tweaking with the color settings. Alrighty, and now we are ready to draw on PowerPoint. It do I want to call it draw? I'm not too sure because I generally make use of the shapes on PowerPoint. And let's say if I want to draw a circle, I wouldn't draw a circle using freehand. I would use the basic shapes there, and then I edit that shape. And I don't know whether you would categorize that as drawing or not. So anyways, I'll call it drawing for now. But for this whale, the shape is a bit more organic and complex and does not conform to any of the basic shapes. It doesn't resemble any of it, I feel. So I would want to build my own customized shape. I can use a freehand tool, but I don't like using it. One is because I do not have a drawing template, so I do not have a drawing tablet, so it is a bit not as manageable using a drawing freehand using a mouse or touchpad. I would recommend using the curve tool instead because it is more manageable, and I feel that it is a faster process drawing using the curve tool. So I'll demonstrate using the curve tool now, and once I've selected the curve tool, and when I click anywhere on the slide, it would set down anchor points. So if I click once and then I click twice, I would have two anchor points. And the curve tool will have a nice smooth curved line generated along the anchor points that you've already clicked to create. So that is pretty much the process to how to build your own customized shape using the curve tool. You just click and click and click around the PowerPoint slide. So it will when you click around, you can see the shape taking shape. No pun intended, but you get my point. Um, so when you end where you start off with, it will automatically create a 2D shape where I can choose the fill color as well as the outline color. I choose to not work with outline because I feel like it makes my life easier after that. Also, a key point to note is try to set the anchor points where you have your maximum or minimum points, such as the tip of the head as well as the tip of the tail, and try to set some where the curves are pretty sharp. That will make your editing later on easier. So I have something that vaguely resemble the shape of the whale already, but I want to continue making adjustments to this shape. First of all, I would like to delete the flipper because I think that it would be more manageable if it's a separate element from this body. So I right click on the shape and then I click edit points, and then I can choose to delete the individual points here. I can drag the points around as well if I want to change the position of these points to change to make refinements and adjustments on the basic shape that I have built just now. I can also make further adjustments, not just moving the points around. I can also change its curvature. So when you select one point on the custom shape, right, in the edit point view, when you select them, you can see two extra lines popping out of that point. These are called handles, I believe. And when you drag these white boxes of the handles around, you can change the curvature of the lines. So I'll just show it here. Here I'm just dragging and changing the position of the points as well as making adjustments to the curvature, how the lines are curving for this shape, custom shape I've created. And I can also make further edits, which I didn't really make use of here, but I can choose to add points to my shape, further add some more points, not just delete them. I can also choose to make some of the lines straight. I have the options to do that. I can also make some of the points sharper. I don't want a smooth point. I can choose to make some of the points sharper by making it into a corner point. So some of the things are worth exploring to when you are building your own custom shape. Of course, it's not all the editing options just now, right? It's not just applicable to custom shapes only, but it is also applicable to the template shapes that's already here. So let's say for my flipper, I wanted to use the D shape, right? It sort of resembled my flipper, so I start off with that, but I know that I can make adjustments later on. If I right click on it and I click edit points, I can totally drag the points around, change its curvature to adjust the shape so that it looks a bit more organic and not just the D shape, the template D shape. So that is pretty much it. So drawing on PowerPoint is just pretty much it. Just dragging them around, dragging the shapes around, drawing the shapes, making adjustments to the shapes. Rinse and repeat. Of course, some rule of thumbs. You would want to generally create a new object for something that's different in color. So let's say the bottom half of the body would be another element, and I can choose the fill color to be another color. So you want that to be a separate element. The flipper, I chose it to be a separate element because I feel that I can make adjustments to its position. I want it to be more back, or I want it to be more front. It's easier if it's a separate element. And of course, the eye is a different color, so I would want a different element for it as well. I will also recommend avoiding outline. Have I mentioned that before just now? Not too sure, but it does not scale well. So when you want to resize your shape, right? Sure, you can resize it, but if you have outline, you would want to change the thickness or the weight of the outline later on if you resize it. So I don't want to go through the hassle of it, so I avoid outline altogether. So you can see when I created the white bottom half of the body, right? It was in front. But I'll make use of the arrange function and push it to the back so that it looks I'm actually taking shortcut here. Instead of making it conforming nicely to the blue body, I'll just make a blob and then choose to hide it behind the body, and voila, shortcuts. But it's important to make full use of the arrangement tool, because let's say the eye, it makes some of the elements visible, and you can choose to hide some of the elements behind other elements. So it makes your life easier as well. So make full use of the arrange function. Okay, next is other tips to stay organized. So this is not a good example because it's just a few elements here, but if you have a larger drawing of a larger set of objects, it will be more manageable if you choose to group similar objects together. Let's say this is a whale, and I want to choose to group the eyes, the flipper, the body all together as one object. So when I choose to group them together, when you're in the selection pane, you can see a new layer is created, and the layer is grouping all the different elements which I've created earlier together. And now you can choose to move the grouped objects together. I don't have to move the eye separately, the body separately. I can also choose to scale the whole wheel all together at one go. So that is the beauty of using the group tool. The selection pane is sort of like a shortcut as well. If you reorder the list here, you are pushing some items forward if it's top of the list, or you can choose to bring them backwards if it's at the bottom of the list. You can choose to show or hide the different elements through the selection panes as well. Another last but not least tip from me is to make use of the lock aspect ratio option. So here I have the group item here, and then I have the lock aspect ratio. So I've previously grouped the head and the whale together, and I wanted to resize them resize them to the size of the canvas. So if I have the lock aspect ratio checked, I don't have to worry about the drawing being stretched height-wise or lengthwise. I don't want it to be appearing too long or too tall. And the relative position of the head also stays put. It does not, like when you drag, sometimes if you don't have the box checked, the head will run somewhere here or somewhere there. It happens. So locking aspect ratio is pretty useful. Okay, and that is pretty much it. I just continue to make adjustments to the shape of the whale, making it rounder, and I've also made some variations to the slides here, changing the background color as well as the orientation. This is to prove a point, to make a point after this. But the next step is to save the PowerPoint slide as an image, because probably you don't want to distribute it as a PowerPoint slide, but instead as an image file, right? So to save the image, the slide as an image, you go to File, and then you click Export, and then you choose to save it as a image file type. Here is either PNG or JPEG. Here you can choose the name of the folder or the file, and then you can choose to save all slides or just this one. Here I've made use of the save all, and then you can see in the directory it creates one new folder, and in that folder it has all these slides as individual images. But if you choose to save only one slide, it will just be one image file in the directory. Okay, just clicking around the different files. Okay, and now that is one option, saving the whole PowerPoint slide as one as image folder or file. You have the other option to just save this group of object. So let's say here I only want to save this group here. I will right click on it, and then I save as picture. Here you have more option, not just JPEG and PNG, but you can choose way more. You have way more options here. But the nice thing about saving this group, right, is it you don't save the background color, so you can get only the object that you're after. So let me open up the PNG file, and you can see that the background color is not saved. There's no green background here. And I would also want to make some compare and contrast for the JPEG and the PNG file. So now I'm saving another file I'm saving this object as a JPEG file. So the JPEG file does not support transparency. Okay, so just now when I open the PNG file, it has a white background, right? So when I open the JPEG file, it would be a white background as well, because by default JPEG saves transparency as white. So it appears to be white. But if I choose to export the JPEG file and the PNG file into my PowerPoint, you can see that the JPEG file has this white background. Whereas if I export in my PNG file, it would be a transparent background, no white background. So because JPEG does not support transparency, but the PNG file supports transparency. So this would be useful in certain circumstances, while this would be useful in another circumstances. So play around with the different image file type to know to match the application you would be using these images for later on. And that is pretty much it. That is the gist of my process of drawing on PowerPoint. So I also went ahead to animate this little guy here on PowerPoint, but that is for another video. So for the drawing, this is pretty much it, and hope you guys find it fun, interesting, maybe helpful if you are exploring drawing on PowerPoint. Also, if I've missed out any shortcuts that you know, just drop some tips and tricks on the comments, and I am always very happy to learn more about any tips and tricks on Microsoft products. I am a big fan of Microsoft products. Anyways, this has been Ying signing out. I'll leave you to the sped up, unedited version of the whole process after this. Thanks. Bye.